Live. What's up, boys and girls, sisters and brothers, homies and homos, and all the rest that come in between? My name is bigmark773, and I am back. It's been a long time since I made a video. A lot of shit done went on in my life, but we're not gonna just talk about that. We're gonna talk about a lot of shit. We're going to cover video games, politics. We got a smorgasbord of bullshit going on in this world, and we're going to take it down. Now, let us get started. First subject, we're going to talk about the PlayStation 5 Final Fantasy Remake, cloud gaming with Microsoft, and some of these suck-ass Xbox fanboys celebrating that Sony and Microsoft are working together for cloud gaming. Not necessarily in the way they think. Now, let's get started. Final Fantasy VII was my first, let's say, like, you know how you get your first piece of pussy and you like a virgin. It popped my cherry on RPGs, and it was amazing. It was great. It made me cry when Aerith died, or Aerith, or whatever you want to call her. I thought she was amazing. But honestly, for me, my main female character was Tifa and Yuffie, or Yaffe, whatever her name is, whatever. And I love those characters a little bit more because Aerith was like a little bit useless in combat to a certain extent, you know? She was not a combat character, she was more of a healer. But if you attack magic to Aerith, even on Final Fantasy VII, the original, she could do more damage if you ever pay percentages wise than other characters. It was kind of sad that she died. There was rumors that it was a way to revive her and bring her back because technically she was not a regular human, she was an ancient. Now, on to the game. Word has come out that the game will be $60 and you will pay $60 twice. It's two parts. The first part ends where Aerith dies, the second part picks up where she dies. I kind of hope that Square Enix includes the possibility of resurrecting Aerith as a new character, maybe a new character such as she's more of a combat specialist with magic. That would be nice. Going on, they have increased the world. They have increased more things to do, kind of like they did with Resident Evil 2 Remake. Also, I do want to talk about Resident Evil 3 Remake, which they're talking about. Dino Crisis, I'm not a Dino Crisis fan. I'm more of a Resident Evil fan. But that's here nor there. Also going to touch a little bit on Days Gone, which is another awesome game that I have not played yet, but I will buy. But back to Final Fantasy. So, anybody that played Final Fantasy, it could be anywhere to 60 hours to 80 hours before Aerith even dies, because there's so much on the continents. Now, mind you, if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, there was one town, Snake Pit, Chickaboo Farm, and going off to the military base to go to the next continent. My question is, will they put more towns on the first continent? Now, to be honest, there probably should be. There should be at least 3 towns on that continent besides that one other, besides the Chickaboo Farm, and besides the town that you go to before you go to the military base. I think they should add more towns. They should do side quests. And I think you can greatly increase the amount of content through side quests. Go rescue my daughter, go rescue my son, go bring me these herbs, go fight this monster. This whole 9 yards, you can greatly increase the size of the game. And I'm hopeful that is what happens. I love Final Fantasy. I'm one of my biggest fans of Final Fantasy, even though technically my game of the generation are 2. Of this generation, which is the PS4 generation, which is which is Child of Light and Horizon Zero Dawn. Those are my 2 favorite games, bar none. Nobody. Oh well, I got to throw in the love of my life, really, at the time in gaming world is like Detroit Become Human. So you know that motherfucker really touched you. If you a black person in America, you felt that shit. Real talk. Police brutality, racism, discrimination. You feel that shit if you black. But anyway, on to the rest of it. Final Fantasy VII looks really, really good. I hope the game is really, really long. I also hope for an upgrade for the game when the PS5 comes out. The PS5 is going to be an excellent console. I want to tell you boys and girls something that I was wrong about, and I said that I thought the PS5 was going to come out this year. I was wrong. It's going to come out in 2020. That's fine. I was wrong. I got to admit it, lay it down, tell the truth, my name, and I am not no lying as Xbox or PlayStation person. I was hopeful that it would come out this year, but hey, take your time, make it good. Now, this asks the question, before I get on to my Resident Evil thing and the Dino Crisis and the other thing I want to talk about. With the PS5, does that mean we're going to get upgraded versions of The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, or will the game automatically just upgrade itself once you install it onto the PlayStation 5? I want to tell you boys and girls something that I know is going to sound kind of anticlimactic when I say this. I think you can play your base game on the PS5, but if you want that upgraded version, I don't think you're going to have to throw a whole nother $60 at it, but you're going to throw at least $10 or $20 at it to get the upgraded version, which will probably be 60 frames a second for The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Death Stranding, excuse me. You're probably going to get a visual upgrade. I think games look good enough now, but maybe they may add slight ray tracing elements to it. Maybe they may do a whole new upgrade on the way the game plays a little bit, and that'll be fine. I'm definitely getting the PS5 day one. Right now, I have a HDR 10/HDR LG/HDR Dolby Vision TV in front of me. It's Vizio. It's a pretty good TV. It's more stable than the last TV I had the last time I talked to you guys. And I was planning on, because I'm working, I was planning on getting an OLED. Because everybody on YouTube and Twitter got the OLED. And the OLED is the birth child of the plasma. That is the next leap in television technology. Now, my question is to myself in my own mind, do I stick with the TV that is very nice? Or do I get a bigger size if I go OLED? Now, the truth of the matter is, when I buy my next television, which probably will be close to the time that the PS5 come out, maybe. But if I do that, I definitely am going to go with Sony or LG or TCL. Because I think the future of consoles, people are often saying 60 frames, but I think they're going to do a true 60 frames per second thing going on. I think we're going to get maybe not ultra, but high graphical settings, which was good. And I think actually there's going to be a war on exclusives. Not a war with exclusives. There's going to be a war on exclusives by the media, by Microsoft, and by third parties. Because if you pay attention to what is going on, if you want me to be frankly honest, and I gotta keep it 100. And anybody sitting up in here that may hear me or don't hear me, whatever, if you sit here and be honest, the best games that have come out this generation are PlayStation exclusives and Nintendo exclusives. Paid to say it, but yeah, their exclusives are pretty good too, even though I think that's a child's toy. Third-party games, I say the two Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins were the two best games Ubisoft released this generation. The rest of that shit, gotcha. Go on. EA. Everything I bought from them, which hasn't been much, and which includes what's the name of that game? Mass Effect Andromeda. Garbage. I said to Swagger and Reese, Lil Reese, who I used to be cool with, I told both of these niggas that Horizon Zero Dawn would be a better game, and they argued me down like I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. But I was right. And Horizon Zero Dawn, to this point, has outsold, what's the name of that game? Mass Effect Andromeda, which is the end of that series. It is the end of, I think, I want to go into this real quick, and then I will go on to Resident Evil and Dino Crisis. I think multiplayer games on any occasion has crippled the gaming industry. people like them less and less. There are a few staples to the multiplayer genre, right? But the rest die a quick and painful death. Case in point, Division 1 and 2. Nobody's playing that anymore. I remember I used to hear motherfuckers say one and done. Yeah, even multiplayer games are becoming one and done. Because you want a great story. And most games set up as a game as a service has no story, which is killing companies. And companies are going to have to think to themselves like, okay, wait a minute. Do I try to shoot for a game that will sell between 8 and 9 million, or I choose a game that I will put out here in hopes that it constantly generates revenue? It's not working. Not every game can be, what's the name of that shit that all the little kids play? I don't know, that little cell-shaded piece of shit. I don't play it, but I'm just saying, you can't do that. You know, Fort Hub, Fort Pub, whatever it is, PUBG, whatever. All those open world / battle royale games, but they're dying a quick death, and you will see the return. And I'm going to tell you right now, there is going to be a war for Call of Duty. Call of Duty Next Generation will be an important game for anybody that gains control of the licenses and that can get those maps 30 days early. Because regardless of what you say, Call of Duty has been a staple for over a decade. And if you think that Battle Royale games are going to replace it, you're dead wrong. There will be big Battle Royale games, which is only one, which is the one that Epic makes. All the rest of them, they come and they go. They're like a prostitute that you pay and you get rid of. That's basically what the rest of these gamings have become. Now, the other side of this argument is there's a Call of Duty which will be your main multiplayer game. I'm telling you, I could be wrong, but I have this feeling. The war on exclusives. Here it is. The war on exclusives is going to come from the media, Microsoft, and third parties. The reason for this is, if you can compare Sony's exclusives, Nintendo's exclusives, they are better than the multiplats. Period. Anybody sitting here telling you that a multiplat is better than what Sony and Nintendo has put out this generation, they're a goddamn lie. They are a lie. I will go over and give Microsoft some credit, because I always like to give credit where credit is due, because I was on the 360 last generation, but at my heart, I'm a PlayStation nigga. Not even gonna lie. But I'm gonna put it out there and give you 100. Microsoft makes an excellent racing game, which is Forza Horizon, which is their best game. It ain't Halo, it ain't Gears, it ain't Forza Motorsport, it's Horizon Forza. It is the best game they make, and technically it is a Microsoft exclusive if you don't include PCs and every other thing that's like a prostitute can take in a pussy. You gotta think, in reality, this is a problem for a future of the industry. Now, one last thing about exclusives. I have 3 streaming services, and I'm going to add a 4th and a 5th. The reason why is I want the Disney streaming service, I want the Sony streaming service, and I may want the DC streaming service. I already have Hulu, Amazon Prime, and Hulu. And this will cover me on those streaming shows that are always very good. These are exclusive shows to each one of these particular ones. Now, moving forward, exclusives will become more important. This is why I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to say it right now. Sony is going to have a 2-pronged approach when it comes to next generation. There will be a handheld designed specifically for the Japanese market. This will kill Nintendo, because the handheld is the only thing that little hole do good. It's handheld. Can't make a console to save its life. So basically, it's going to be Nintendo and Sony fighting for the handheld. On the console side, there's no comparison. There's no only way Microsoft could theoretically beat Sony if third parties say, you know what, we're going to make the next Assassin's Creed exclusive to Microsoft and PC. We're going to make this game exclusive to Microsoft and PC. But then they will be cutting off their nose to spite their face, and I will tell you why. because Sony will have a bigger install base. I one time said this to Porter Rock 77, who was born the same goddamn year I was, that Sony has a base between 50 to 60 million. Cake is what's on top. Right now, I said Microsoft has a base between 25 to 40 million. Where's Microsoft at? 40 million. Now, going into the next generation, I'm finna tell you what's gonna happen. The current PlayStation is at 96.8 million. A few away, 4 million from 100 million. This console will pick up steam again when it becomes cheaper and less to produce when they send it to the third world. What I mean by that, I mean places in Africa, more people in Brazil will get it, more people in Mexico will get it, more people in Central America will get it, more people in Central Africa, East Africa, and Southeast Africa, where Dar es Salaam is at, which is Tanzania, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and other parts of Africa, which are on the economic upswing, right? And these are going to become video game centered economies, which Microsoft is concentrating on, because just like with African Americans in America, the ideas are starting to change among black people. Less about liberation, more about monetization. It's more about the money than fuck you. Keep your laws, keep all of that. We'll build an army ourselves and just fight you if you fuck with us. That's where our mind's at as black people, and I think that's the way it is in the rest of the world. Let me concentrate on the Middle East, right? I feel sorry for the people of the Arabic world. And I will tell you why. Not the black ones, because there are black Arabs, or people that are black that speak Arabic, which is like I tell people all the time about people that speak Spanish call themselves Latino. Just because you speak the language don't make you them people. Let's just pay attention to that. Now, real quick on this. There's a second war, and this is my political thing, that's going to happen in the Middle East, and Donald dumbass Trump is going to do it. He's going to attack Iran, and it's going to be like a Vietnam situation. He will get reelected once he does this. But tens and thousands of Americans are going to die. And this is good because it's going to push, China will become stronger, and I'm live streaming. That's who I'm talking to, live streaming. More people will die. I'm just being honest. Now, let's go on back into the video games. We're going to touch more on the politics in a little bit later. Now, E3 is coming. There are rumors of seeing Resident Evil 3 remake, which I hope happens. And I would like it to be semi-open world. I would like it to add extra modes like Titan Hunt. You do know there were more Titans in the city fighting against the U.S. military. And somebody killed all those Titans before the bombs went off. And it could be Jill Valentine. Or another character that maybe they may make it two playable characters. Like Resident Evil 2. I doubt it, but maybe. Then they can expand the story. You can go to different places like the museum and the zoo. Not just the police station. Not just the hospital. The game can be greatly expanded. Then they're talking about Dino Crisis, which was not my series. I didn't care for that series, but if it's good, I'll play it. I play most games like that. Then we move over to, which is Resident Evil 8, which they're going to explore the origins. There's a whole island that you're going to play on, but you're going to explore the origins of the main antagonist from Resident Evil 7. And it's going to be third person again, which I'm happy about. I don't like first person shooter games. Even though what I'm sitting in front of is Call of Duty. But first person really cuts the immersion for me. I don't like first person. It's just my opinion. Oh, let me give a shout out to the love of my life, Jennifer, my mother, my family, her family, all her kids, and all the kids I want to have one day. Now, let's talk about gaming as a whole. All right? So we going into next generation. And next generation is going to be very important for televisions and consoles as well as the internet. There's upgrading of the internet rapidly happening all over the world for a reason. The television is going to replace the computer. said the internet is going to replace the computer. Because technically now people have the internet and don't have computers in their house. They have them in their hand. They're called tablets. They're called smartphones. But the personal desktop computer has become a dinosaur and a relic of the past. Because technically you can do everything on the internet without ever having a computer in your house. Now, let's concentrate on the future. Next year, the game battle. The war on exclusives will start slow and quiet for the first year or two. Then, when Sony hits that stride, because there are a lot of PlayStation 5 games in development that are going to knock your socks off. They're already slowly leaking it out. There's a new series that's going to come. Now, Naughty Dog is going to do a new series for next generation, and there possibly will be a Last of Us Part 3. But I don't think Last of Us Part 2, I don't think Ellie's going to survive that game. I think her child will. Wait a minute, Ellie's a lesbian. No, Ellie goes both ways. She's not gay. Though I know gay people want her to really be gay. But she's not just strictly gay. She's not strictly dickly. Strictly coochie either. She like them both. But anyway, so we're looking at that as a possibility. So you got a Last of Us Part 3 in the next generation will be between 7 to 8 to maybe even 9 years. Now, here's the thing about the future of console gaming. If Sony sells between 140 to 150 to 60 million consoles next generation, there's going to be a PlayStation 6, bar none, out the door. Here's the thing though. If Sony destroys Nintendo on the handheld side, Nintendo's out, and they will go third party. Microsoft will be out, they will go third party. And I think a little bit of this deal that happened between Microsoft and Sony is to see who wins next gen. Because there will be dedicated hardware for the console user always, but the ideal is to get rid of all the other consoles. And I'll be honest, I think it's becoming convoluted. Just like with launchers, nobody wants to have 5 or 6 launchers on their computer. And to be honest, I don't think we need 5 or 6 streaming services either. But I think the streaming services, because they're so cheap, as long as they're not getting to the $50, $60 range, we're okay. But I think if they can push those down to like $9 or $10, people have 10 of them. And streaming services will be huge. And I'll tell you why. Because movies, not talking games here, we're talking movies. Netflix has great streaming shows. I've been watching a lot of what's the name of it? Amazon Prime streaming lately too. Great streaming shows. Hulu, I think, is the weakest of the bunch as far as their original programming, because their series don't seem to ever go beyond the first season. But I think Netflix has a bright future, and I think the thing that's cool about Netflix is, if I was Netflix right now, I would be calling Sony and be telling Sony, like, listen up, my nigga. Don't make you a streaming service. Won't we and you combine, right? Spider-Man will be the only exclusive show and movie and series that will appear on Netflix. You got that deal in your pocket. Here you go for another thing. There are other comic book characters. There are other comic book series that you can concentrate on. DC has their own streaming service. Okay, fine. Think of other comic books that you can get to. I think also they should concentrate on thinking about more anime, more video game. Like Sony recently announced that they're going to concentrate on video game movie franchise. There will be a Horizon Zero Dawn movie. There probably will be a Last of Us TV show. There might be a Days Gone TV show. Who knows? But also, my dream was that for video games was to do another Mad Max game. Probably will never happen. Mad Max game was actually pretty darn good. And a lot of people didn't play it, which is kind of sad. But I think the game was actually pretty good. I think the problem for the game Mad Max was that they used Mad Max. You don't need Mad Max to be in the world of Mad Max. You could have made your own character, which is an option, or have 2 playable separate characters. And you need to expand this world. It's been I watched this thing one time where they say actually, if you take it from the time where the world's supposed to fall apart in the first Mad Max movie to now, Mad Max would be dead and gone. And the world and countries and empires would start to come back again. Like whole new nations would start to form, which would be smaller groups at first, and then they would become nations or big tribes, right? That's where Mad Max world should be at. There should be city-states or countries like, now this is what I would do personally. If I would make a Mad Max game in the world of Mad Max. The world doesn't need to always be a desert. It's post-apocalyptic. So where it once was desert, now they're starting to get greenery places. They're starting to get cold places again. The topography of the landscape is starting to change. Also, the combat system in Mad Max was excellent, hand-to-hand. That should also include weapons like daggers or knives, axes and swords and stuff like that. And also crossbows would be for your range combat, not so much bow and arrow. Bow and arrow is kind of played out, to be honest. If you're not really doing like Horizon Zero Dawn or Tomb Raider, which is another dead franchise, it's really no point in doing that. So I wish they would do a crossbow would be your range. You will also get a car. They should also do radio stations. Like we found this old big thing of music where technology is starting to come back. I think it would be an excellent game, but that's just me. Who knows what I was thinking, you know what I'm saying? Because the future world doesn't have to be everything in ruins. The end of a society is not necessarily the end of the people or the whole world. The end of a world could be the end of that particular nation. You know, the apocalypse has happened many times in this world. Well, a country ends when a country falls. That is the apocalypse, to be honest with you. So, that's just my one point. Now, we've covered gaming a lot in the first 27 minutes of the stream. Now, we got to go into politics in the future. Lately in this city, I'm from Chicago, we had an election, and I don't know nobody that voted. Nobody. So technically this woman was just put in office. And she will be continuing the same plans and schemes that has hurt the communities of Chicago, that are black, that are Hispanic, that are whatever. If you don't got money, you're going to be pushed out of the city. Same thing they're doing in New York, the same thing they're doing everywhere. Well, really, they want to be Brazil in America. They want to push all the colored people together, who are they going to end up fighting, and then they're going to end up having sex and having multicolored babies. They want Brazil, they want America to look like Brazil. And technically, I know people would say at one time that Brazil slightly reflect America. To be honest, more and more, America is starting to reflect Brazil. So, that's the political side of it. But I'm going to go deeper with you, right? So, politics. All the political parties are corrupt. They're not going to do anything for you. They're going to say what they need to say. They're going to pass tax cuts for rich people. That's basically what they're going to do. They're not going to do anything for the common person. They're going to do just enough to keep you from making a revolution where there be civil war all over this country. Because less and less people are working. To be honest, it's called automation, and there's no stopping it. I think the truth of the matter is the future will be is that robots are going to start to replace us. Machines. In more ways than you can imagine. In the hospital room, on the sporting field, there's going to be a mass exodus from the workforces. And there will be a small oligarchy of probably about 300 to 3,000 people that will be the richest human beings on the earth in human history. And there will be war. And there will be war. Listen to what I'm telling you. There will be war. There will be a war for the have and have-nots at a level that you cannot imagine. And I am telling you, from all the wars from World War II, World War III, all the religious wars, all the cultural wars, it will mean nothing to the blood that will be shed. Because nothing is more powerful than money in this world that we live with human beings. And that's the God's honest truth. Now, let's talk macro about what's happening in Africa. In the black world, because there is a black world. The black world includes all of Africa. I know people are like, oh, you mean, no, I mean all of Africa. All of that is nigger territory. We don't care that Arabs live there. We don't care that North Africans who mix with Europeans live there. All of that is nigger territory. Like all of Europe is European territory, all of Russia is Russian territory, all of China is Chinese territory. You don't separate because these people look a little slightly different from each other. They're all Chinese, they're all Europeans, they're all Russian. Whatever, these are all niggers, regardless of what they say. Now, what it means for the wider black world, the black diaspora. There is a reach out effort coming from Africa and a reach out effort from the diaspora. Who are the diaspora? The diaspora is African Americans, African Canadians, people who descend from slaves who ended up in Canada, black people that live in Mexico, Cuba, Dominican Republic, who can say they black without getting killed, Haiti, Jamaica, the Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands, of course, French Guiana, on the coastline, South America, Brazil, of course, which has the biggest black population in the entirety of the Western Hemisphere. Also, there's a reach out effort to black people that live in Europe, that are currently in Asia right now, including there's a population of people that are descendants that live in parts of Asia, you know. So there's a reach out for the black world. And this is where the future lies. I will not be alive to see this, but the awakening is slowly happening. A reconnection to the African continent, a reconnection to the earth spirits, a reconnection to our ancestors and our ancestors' spirits and our ancestors that watch over us all the time is coming back into black people. This will do our reemergence. We will have our own language in about a century. There will be a new culture that will unite all black people. The men and women that are born today will lay the groundwork for a new country that will stretch to South America and the Americas all the way to Africa and beyond. This mighty nation one day will put all of mankind under one flag, and that is the ultimate goal. Because as I said in the earlier video, democracy is a lie because all it does is help very few. People say, oh, my country is a very rich country. Yes, your country. And your country is very small in the macro of a world of 12 billion people, maybe 20 billion people in about 100 years. Oh, my country has 400 million people in it. Your country has 400 million people in it. But the world has billions of people in it. You see what I'm saying? You're going to have to share the wealth, and a new ideal and a new economy and a new understanding of what human beings need is what needs to happen. We have to move beyond what we currently do. We have to go to space exploration. It's time to colonize Mars. It's time to see, can we colonize Venus? It's time to make it possible for human beings to live off-world. Because if people start to live off-world, there are going to be billions of jobs. Mining on the asteroids, going to whole other planets and mining. Mind you, of course, they have to be careful. You don't want no disease to hit. The human beings don't have no, when would slaughter us all. But we have to get off of this planet. I know people think I'm crazy when I say that. But they also call people crazy who wanted to explore West. One of my ancestors, I claim everybody black as my ancestors. I claim the pharaohs, and I claim this man Musa Musa's son descendant. With thousands of ships, they went west, and they disappeared. They did not disappear. With 350,000, including the whole population areas, they moved into South America. They moved into the Americas. But people don't find them. Where are they? That happened longer before than people know. See, the time in history that we think we know time, we actually don't. They say Jesus has been gone for 2,030 years. Jesus has probably been gone for 4,000 years, if you want to be honest. Who knows? Who knows how long the Roman Empire actually lasted? We don't know that. They tell you that how long such a thing lasted. People say the Viking Age only lasted 200 years, where they were attacking all over Europe. Of course they will tell you that, but to be honest, no one knows how long the Vikings terrorized Europe. No one can tell you. I will go further. The Nubian pharaohs, they say 200, 300, 400 years. Who knows? It could have been 700-800 years. No one knows, because no one really can tell time, and time is measured differently now than it was in the past. They could say to you, well, the Roman Empire lasted 800 years. Who's to say they're telling the truth? They don't know how long. The Roman Empire could only lasted 400 years, but they can say 8. How are you going to tell that time? We use the Christian Roman calendar today in most of the world, right? But there's parts of the world where the world is not even in the year 2019. In China, it's the year 3019. In some African countries that go by a traditional calendar view, the year is 2009. Who's to tell who is right on time? Let's go conservatively, right? Let's say the Chinese are right with their calendar. This is really the year 3019. This is year 3019, right? So if you go to the year 3019, which is basically 1,000 years from now, what would the world look like? The world can be highly advanced, or it can be like agriculture and people living in slavery again. You don't know, because you don't know time. We can't say how long, and when you go back and they recalibrate the time, it's always longer than what they say it was. Egypt is an old nation, old country, 5,000 years of history. It may be 10,000 years of history. They can't tell you that. They can only tell you of the pharaonic age. Who knows the age of the 50 kings? No one can tell you about that because they don't know about it. In the age of the 50 kings that happened in what was Kemet, you don't know what happened. Then you go down to Khartoum and Sudan, and they can't tell you what happened. They don't know how the Somalis were the first ones to draw the bull, but yet the symbol of the bull is connected iconically with Africa. It is, from the whole Sahel region of that continent. Let's go back to Europe. They tell you about Druids and Rome and Greece and all of that, but did you know there were countries there before that? There were nations, empires there, but you would never know that because they hide so much of human history. The place that has the most history that you know about that is very old is China. We really don't know how China knows so much about their ancient history, which they say they know. In parts of Asia, they know so much more about their ancient history, but yet in the West and Africa and Latin America, there's no knowledge. That's speculation. So, I'll say this last thing before I get off. More time has passed than they say it has. You can kind of tell. And we can't really tell how long something has happened back. All we know, things have changed, right? The Americas first got colonized, or started to get colonized since 1492. Technically, it has been over 600 years since then. Let's take 600 years and put 600 years on top of it. That is 1,200 years. Then you take from that 1,200 year mark and put another 600 years on top of it. The world will be a very different place. Let me talk about Islam and Christianity. For the first few centuries of the world, Christianity and Islam, when Islam came into view, Islam has been around since the 7th century. It has been over 1,300 years since our religion started. But also, Christianity is about 1,900 years. Maybe a little bit more but not much more, right? So, people actually think that Islam and Christianity is going to be around for another 2,000 to 3,000 years. I'm here to tell you it's not. And I'll tell you why. Things in this world have a shelf life. Religions have a shelf life. Belief systems have a shelf life, and so do countries and culture. If you go to ancient China from the year, let's say, 1500 BC, that's 1,500 years back, those Chinese are not the Chinese of the day. The Chinese of today, you can go back to the 1920s. The Chinese people of the 20s, it's not the Chinese people of 2019. They're not. Just like the people of the 1900s are not the people of the early 2000s. It is a different group of people. They look different, they act different, they smell different because they're not the same people. There's an evolution on a certain level that happens within us that we cannot see. Last point. This is for the survival of all human beings on this planet. We don't need to worry about the past or the truth of the past anymore. We have to worry about the future. And if the future does not come out the right way, there will be no humanity. Just telling you. Good luck, God bless, and I am out. Have fun, boys and girls.